Good morning, everybody. It is a gorgeous day, and today we're going to be talking about Frog Tamagotchis, space domes, and the 5 absolute beliefs of a Spark team. Let's get into today's State of the Spark Show, where we're igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. I'm Grant with State of the Spark, and we are super excited. I am super excited to cover today's topic. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about a Spark value called freedom. And we really believe in this core value. And as we went through State of the Spark and started talking about Spark values, one of them that really came up was team. You know, I remember a time when I was in Cape Town, South Africa, and there was a hike up Platyclip Gorge. And it was like a 4-hour hike or something like this. And I destroyed it. I ran up this thing. I started with a group of folks, but then I just started getting excited. So I ran up this thing. I was in the middle of my CrossFit training. I was peak health, and I just wanted to absolutely dominate. So I did. I got up to the top of this mountain. You can see where the Indian Ocean meets the Atlantic Ocean. It's gorgeous up there. And I looked to the left and right of me, and I saw these families, and I saw these friends. And I looked down the mountain, and my group was still a ways back. And I realized I don't want success unless I can do it with a team of people I like, and that also like me. I want to be around people that celebrate me and that I celebrate on a constant basis and build up. That's like success to me. That's a sparked life for me. And so team is part of a core Spark value, and we're going to cover that today just a little bit. And of course, we're going to cover other news that's so that you are a little smarter than the average cookie. We're going to cover other news and just a few quick topics on some interesting things going on in xenobiology. That's your $5 word for a Thursday morning, xenobiology. We're going to cover that. But before any of this, I've got a magic cup of gratitude. It's magic because everything starts off right when you start it with gratitude. So this morning, I need to hear what you're grateful for this morning. I want to hear this in the comments. I want to hear from you. What is driving you? What are you most grateful for this morning? I'm grateful this morning for a quote from a new book recommended to me by Brittany and Adam. The quote is from Elena Cardone, and she says, "You're either building an empire or destroying one." And I would even augment that and say, you could be building an empire, and that could be destroying another. But I like this simplicity of you're either building an empire or destroying one. Now, I like this quote because, A, it just resonates with me and my temperament as it is, but it's a challenge to be more productive, more focused, and intentional on building an empire together. You know, there was another quote in here that this reminds me of. It's a Benjamin Franklin quote, and I've got to give this to you. It's a fantastic Benjamin Franklin quote. It says, where is it? It is right here. A great empire, like a great cake, is most easily diminished from the edges. The fringes, the way you're organized, the way your taxes are going, the way your relationships are. You know, it's very rarely that the work you do in and out is breaking your ability to achieve your empire. It's very rarely the core thing, whether it's Spark Sites and Spark Training or the website company, whether it's bookkeeping. It's very rarely the website development that takes out a web design project. It's very rarely the actual core services. It's the edges. It's the edges of bookkeeping. It's the edges of marketing. It's the edges of relationship building. It's the edges of how the individuals are as a team and how they are as individuals. It's the edges that take out an empire. So I love the topic that I'm reading right now. So that's what I'm mostly grateful for. What are you grateful for? I believe this is the lovely Brittany dropping in and saying Clubhouse. No, this is Lisa Welsh. She says she's most grateful for Clubhouse and morning deliveries. Boom, dropping in. She's able to watch the show because she is delivering on her business out there. And Lisa, tell us when you get a second or when you pull over, or if you could dictate it into the phone, what your favorite Clubhouse groups are right now. And fun fact, LinkedIn is coming up with its own Clubhouse. Twitter's coming up with its own Clubhouse. Facebook is. So I'm super excited about some of those resources. So I'd like to hear what your absolute favorite Clubhouse is. Lisa, let us know so that we can check those out. So that is my cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? Drop it in the comments. Let us know so that we can celebrate you and celebrate with you. Let's talk about other news. Let's do it. Frog Tamagotchis. That's right. You guys remember Tamagotchis from the 90s? These little pets that would be on your keychain and you feed them. If you fed them too much, they'd die. If you didn't feed them enough, they'd die. So I thought about Tamagotchis today as I thought about scientists who recently have been able to turn frog skin cells into living machines. You heard that right. Frog skin cells that turn themselves into living machines. These frog skin cells, and they're calling them because they're just skin cells, but they've been able to urge them to grow into their own living machine. And so though they're taken from a frog, and I don't even know how the programming works, but they're able to heal themselves when cut. They're simply frog cells taken from a frog embryo, and they're calling them xenobots because they're a xeno being other life form, bots being robots that have simple programming. These things are able to actually move particles around in the bloodstream or in a petri dish. They're able to sweep up debris and actually gather particles. So how this is happening is that these skin cells from the embryo grow into these little xenobots, and they have a thing on them called cilia. And the cilia is on the frog skin, and they're kind of like tiny little hairs. And their normal use is to repel pathogens at the molecular level or spread, mucus or material around the cell. On the xenobots, the cilia actually allows them to motor around or gain mobility. They can live for about 10 days with no food, but scientists have been able to feed them small amounts of sugar, and they can live much longer than that, sometimes up to 4 months, as these xenobots can organize themselves. They never grow, obviously, fully into a full embryo, but they can grow as a team. Now, why do we care? Why is this a Spark News article other than making me feel smart at work or with my friends? It's beneficial because if they can program these things to move instead of nanobots, which have their own risks, they're powerful, but they have their own risks and they're expensive to generate. You can actually grow these xenobots and they can actually clean out your arteries, gather up toxins from your body, and maybe even remove cancer cells from your body without you ever even noticing. So it's not like, and there are some concerns about nanobots and how our bodies might react to them. But this is an organic material that our bodies shouldn't even necessarily react to. Xenobots and frog Tamagotchis, yeah, when they were describing how scientists were actually feeding them and allowing them to live or killing them off or whatever it was, it struck me as a Tamagotchi. Now, the interesting thing is this obviously raises ethical questions regarding what is alive. Are these xenobots alive? Do they have a will? And then Lisa jumps in and answers my question here. Clubhouse favorite, Food Growers United, social media marketing, and Soul Shine. I like it. I'm going to have to check these groups out, Lisa. I appreciate it big time. Boom. So that's our first piece of other news. Frog skin cells that can clean out your body and turn into xenobots. You've heard that $5 word here this morning. Yes. So Crew Dragon, nice dome. When I heard this article, I thought of 80s phrases, like when people were referring to someone's head as a dome. But no, we're not talking about someone's hair or their head. We're talking about the dome on the Crew Dragon SpaceX capsule. It looks like SpaceX is adding a glass dome on the Crew Dragon spacecraft for 360-degree views of space. Now, where this is coming from is that SpaceX is partnered with an individual who is basically paid for a flight and 3 or 4 other passengers. And it's a true space tourist trip. It will not be docking with the International Space Station, but they will be spending some time in space. And it occurred to Elon Musk, as he is wont to do, that it would be awesome to give space tourists a 360-degree view of the cosmos. So the team managing the mission and called the Inspiration 4 has decided to actually install a glass space dome. It's kind of similar to the one on the International Space Station, except it's an uninterrupted glass bubble. So they're having it custom made. It would fit at least one crew member chest up from like the waist up, and you could get in and actually just be looking at space. Elon Musk tweeted that it was probably the most in space you could get being in a glass dome, aside from actually being in a spacesuit. In fact, there's a bit more liberty in the glass dome than the spacesuit, so that you can actually experience going into space. Man, if this is the sort of stuff that you want to fantasize about, like I did sitting on my waterbed looking at my space mural, man, you got to read the article. There's the link right there. Makes me desire, man, how can I make sure I'm on one of these? There in the thumbnail right there, you can see the dome at the tippy top. Imagine journaling in the space dome from space and just writing notes to yourself or reflecting on how far we have come, how far you have come. Man, I nerd out on this stuff. That, my friends, is another piece of other news. Crew Dragon, nice dome, how you can go to space and get a 360 view without the cold vacuum. That might be a little disturbing to your journey. So in today's day and age, folks, let's talk a little bit about team. In today's day and age, I'm growing more and more concerned about people's ability to function as a team. This isn't just because of COVID and remote work, though a lot of people might be tempted to think that most concerns about team are around remote work. I would say most concerns about productivity and production and effectiveness are deeply affected by COVID and remote work. But a sense of team, I feel like already places are getting crowded and people are trying to spread out. Marissa's trying to go to the woods. People, when they surf, try to gravitate away from one another. I'm the opposite. When I see people, I want to gravitate towards them. So people, I believe, are growing less and less desirous of being close to people, functioning with people, and working as a team. In fact, if you reflect, when was the last time you felt the pure joy and fulfillment of working closely with a group of others to positively impact the world? When I reflect on it for myself, it was in my early 20s when I was building the church, and again in my early 30s when I was building State of the Spark. And though we weren't perfect people, together our team felt great. We had a book study that we all fellowshipped around. We had lunches that we fellowshipped around. We coached one another. We grew together. And then again with our business teams. In these small moments, I thought to myself, what was so fulfilling about that? Was it the work? Sometimes, but the work was really an excuse for us to be our best around one another. Today, and exemplified and amplified by remote work, the desire is, oh, I love it when people cancel their appointments, and I'm guilty of this too. We love it when the morning Zoom meeting is off and we can just do our own thing. And though you might be alone and you might be able to do your own thing, are you doing your best? Are you being challenged to be better? Are you honing the most important skills? No, not your technical skills at building bookkeeping or traveling. No, not the skills of building a website and coding or coaching other people. No, not those skills. Those aren't the most important skills. The most important skills are how well you participate in and with a team. How you participate as a team member and how you contribute as a team. And why is that? When we talk about or hear about phrases like 10x your business, 10x your work, they're not just saying, hey, go work harder. The real answer is not to go work harder. Well, for some of you it is. And you know who you are, who you need to work harder. But for most people, when someone says 10x your business, what they're really saying is get 10 times better. And the next question is, better at what? Better at operating as a team. Why is the focus on team? I believe that we are not a species of millions and billions of individuals. I believe we are a single species with billions of parts, billions of components. Like a coral reef. A coral reef actually has tons of little corals, but we refer to it as one. Like a birch grove, there's one of the largest living organisms on the planet is a birch grove. And I believe it's a birch grove. I have to actually look up what species of tree it is, but I believe it's a birch grove. And this particular grove is considered the largest, oldest, one of the oldest species on the planet. But every tree in that forest is actually a single organism together. Yes, this tree might have scars, that tree might have more leaves, but we're actually misusing the word tree. It's like having an arm that has longer arm hair and another arm that has less arm hair, but we still refer to me as me. We need to break out of the cycle. We do need to know that individually what makes us happy, individually what inspires us, individually what keeps us going. But we need to temper that with our place amongst a team, and not a junk team, not a trash team, a team of people that make you better. This is why they say you're the sum average of your 10 closest friends. So as we explored spark value yesterday of freedom, and we talked about how there's an internal freedom and an external freedom. And you cannot have external freedom if you don't have internal freedom. And this is of all of the Spark freedom frameworks. If you can look at the MSPBA Small Business Freedom Framework for Spark, and you back that up and look at some of the core freedom frameworks of that, State of the Spark, Spark, Ignite, Explode, Radiate is an underlying foundational freedom framework of MSPBA. And down below that are some of the Spark other freedom frameworks. And if you keep drilling down, it lands on the Spark values. The ultimate apex principles of Spark are the Spark values. And freedom is the sun in that solar system. The very next one that comes up, and the reason being because if you can conquer internal freedom, if you can achieve internal freedom, then you can create a sustainable external freedom. And external freedom is location freedom first, time freedom second, economic freedom third. But all of that is preparation to make you a sufficiently, what Stephen Covey would call, independent human being in order to move from dependent to independent to interdependent. So the second Spark value, the very second Spark value is team. We value it because that's ultimately what we want. When we imagine ourselves celebrating the successes of a life well invested, when we imagine ourselves on the other end of all of our goals, we envision people celebrating with us. It's the only feedback loop we actually trust to know that we've done anything of value. When I picture the apex of the next time I climb a mountain, it's not alone. I don't care. No one cares, and I don't care. But the people around me that we've done this thing together. I don't want to do things that are individual experiences alone. I mean, I love surfing and I'll do it alone. But surfing is so much more rich when you do it with people that you know, like, and trust. Hear me on this. When you envision the success, igniting lives of explosive significance, when your life is ignited and you're living a fulfilled life, I guarantee if you go deep into your mind, most of your imaginings around that are imaginings with people celebrating with you. Some of them are alone. I'd love to do a meditation. That's a goal. It's an easy one to attain. But I picture coming back and sharing the revelation of that with the people that matter to me most. Yeah, I picture traveling the world, been there, done that. I want to do it again. There's a lot more of the world I haven't seen. Of course I want to travel the world. My good friend Eli picked up and said, forget it. I'm going to finally go to Europe. Put himself around Europe. Fantastic. Even with a cold. Of course I want to still travel, but I've traveled enough to know that travel's not worth much unless you're doing it with people you love. So team is the second Spark citizen core value. And here are the 5 beliefs that we carry about team to make our team experiences more rich, more rewarding, more beneficial. Because there's so much drama. As soon as you get around other people, there's posturing, positioning, title chasing, reward seeking, and all of that is the negative outcropping, the ego, if you will, of people who have not worked on their internal life. But there's also a team ethos. Here are the 5 beliefs, very briefly, that we carry as Spark citizens about team. Number 1, we don't know it all. None of us know it all, but together we do. The first belief that Spark citizens have about team is we don't know it all, but together we do. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not have all the details sorted out. It's okay to not be the boldest person in the room. You don't have to. But you have to acknowledge that together we need those elements to level up. You might achieve a little bit. If I'm not a detail person, which I'm not, I've only achieved a little bit. I will ultimately need someone else to come into my life who thrives in that realm, and together we'll absolutely build an empire. You see, individually we are capped with our time, energy, money matrix. This is another Spark Freedom Framework, TEM, time, energy, money. A particular project, whatever you're trying to achieve, has a finite amount of resources it needs. It needs a set amount of time, a set amount of energy, and or a set amount of money. If you don't have a lot of money, you need more time and more energy. If you don't have a lot of time, you need more energy and more money, basically more labor, more people. Every project has TEM, time, energy, and money. So the first belief of Spark citizens around team is we don't know it all, but together we do. The second one is this: we can't do it all, but together we can. I've got my crazy dream list. One of them is walk on the moon. Crazy. One of not so crazy today, because together with Elon Musk, I can't. If I'm producing in my job and working as a team in our businesses, if I'm encouraging Adam and Brittany in our partnership at Spark Bookkeeping, if they're encouraging and uplifting me, which they are for Spark Sites, and we are enriching one another, literally, metaphorically, and actually enriching one another, we'll have the cash in the bank in no time. If me and Marissa can partner on that property deal, we'll have that empire in no time. I can't do it all. I cannot on my own write one of my things, write the first $1 trillion donation check. I do not think yet to this day someone has written $1 trillion donation check. Just a donation. Boop. I want to walk on the moon. I want to spend 2 months in an agriturismo in Italy studying fine art, sculpting alabaster, and fine Italian cooking. I just want to do it at a leisurely pace. I probably can't get to all of that, but together we can. If number one is we don't know it all, but together we do, the implications are you better surround yourself with people who A, make up your failings, B, contribute to your goals, meaning they have skills that are relevant to your goal. We can't do it all, but together we can. You should be surrounding yourself with people who encourage you, uplift you, inform you, educate you, or actually fulfill your gaps. Yesterday I had to call around. Why? I need some people on my team. I need an insurance person on my team over in Cocoa Beach, and I need a house cleaner who can help us clean out our apartment over there. I need a partner over there. I can't do it all. I can't drive over there every time our Airbnb turns over. I can't do it all. And I know I don't mind paying them, but that's still partnership. Can we work as a team? You know, the DISC temperament system is one of my favorites because it points to how unique we all are. And it points to a bigger picture and how all of those things come together to benefit one another. The third belief that Spark citizens have about the Spark core value of team. The third belief is this: revelation never happens in a vacuum. It's a team sport. Revelation, personal revelation. The first place you can get a lot of revelation is your journal. If you're journaling, you'll get a lot of revelation. But true level ups happen over dinner, happen when you're playing with kids on a play date and you turn to a friend and they just say something. You turn to another parent, they just say something. When you're in school and you've been pondering this one thing and trying to get a breakthrough on how you might approach that project and you're just stuck and someone floats an idea. You ever hear the phrase, steal like an artist? That means you very rarely reinvent the wheel. No, most often you actually see something that's awesome and absorb it, synthesize it, and make it something new. The third belief that Spark citizens have about team is we acknowledge that revelation never happens in a vacuum. True revelation, helpful revelation about who you need to be, what you need to do, the energy and the motivation to go do it. Those sorts of revelations about the divine, revelations never happen in a vacuum. It's a team sport. That's what makes us. That's why I don't believe we're individuals that make up a species. I believe we are a single species that has very unique components that we call individuals. Why? Because literally, we're not getting out of this thing alive. Literally, we cannot gain the revelation we need for ourselves. It's usually when someone drops a nugget on you, someone says, oh, I read this one quote and it moved me. Those interactions are crucial to your human experience, crucial to having a good day. This interaction, crucial. You're watching this, the 5, 6, 8, 3, the people watching the show. Revelation in your life will only come as a team sport. Now, you'll often have to act alone. As Bob Proctor says, you should be like a ship of the sea who knows its place in the fleet, but when the time comes, can sail the infinite sea. That's interdependence, right? So the third belief is that revelation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's a team sport. The fourth belief is this: titles are meaningless. Roles are critical. Titles are meaningless. Roles are critical. We don't desire titles. I can't tell you how many employees I've had over the years. I can't tell you. I'd have to sit and count. I've had so many employees over the years that were so hung up on their title, probably because they believed that their compensation was related to their title. I love organizations who the highest paid people are the people that contribute the most, regardless of title or position. I love those. Because incentives, we know that we're in this together. Titles are meaningless. Roles are critical. You see, we don't desire titles. I don't care what you call me. You know, you hear these jokes and it seems like a little overreaching when a CEO says, oh, I'm the chief toilet cleaner. And it almost sounds like a dad joke, and they don't really mean it. But for those who sincerely mean it, amen, you know that nothing is beneath me. You know that if I'm CEO, it's only because I'm willing to do anything to make this thing work. I don't desire the title. You can have the title. What we desire is the fulfillment of our goals. We don't desire titles. We desire the fulfillment of our goals. So take all the titles. What, you want to be boss? Great. You'll take the, I heard Eddie Allen, a friend of ours who's over in Winter Haven, Auburndale area. Eddie Allen used to say, oh my gosh, how did he say it? It totally just escaped me. I apologize for those of you watching. It was a quote basically about you can have all the title. Oh, reward and responsibility. I recall reward and responsibility. Eddie used to say, if you want the reward, you have to first and foremost want the responsibility. So when you want the title and you want the money and you want the respect that goes with the title, that's what you want, but you haven't done the work. Well, I've been working hard. I know you've been working hard. Have you been working hard enough to be called CEO? Here, have the title. I'll take it. I don't want it sometimes. In fact, if anything, I'm working to move myself out of the job of CEO. I don't want it. Why? I want to go be a trainer. I want to go travel the world, do coaching and training. I am looking for someone to step up as CEO for Spark Sites. But very few will come and do the work. As Brian Tracy said, you have to put the wood in the oven before it gives you heat. It's just the law of the universe. And then we could talk about profit margins and we could talk about details. But the principle is, if you want the title and the reward, you have to first want the responsibility. You want to be president? You want to wear that crown? You got to want the responsibility of going through campaigning and having mudslinging and playing the game and drinking the Kool-Aid. I used to want to be into politics, but at this point I realized I don't want the responsibility of getting there. I do still want the reward, but I've acknowledged that I don't want the responsibility, so I'm not going to put time in. We don't desire titles. We desire the fulfillment of our goals. You see, titles are too fixed. Roles are fluid. And there are only two roles. There are only two roles in a team. Number one, doers. Everyone on the team is a doer, or they should be gone. CEOs aren't people that just sit in chairs with their hands behind their heads. Sometimes that's necessary to think things through. But doing is the thing that should be incentivized. The doing and making decisions and doing those decisions is the most respectable position in a team. The second role is leaders. A leader is one who, for the moment, is best positioned to guide the rest of the team through the current challenge. Leader positions are fluid, temporary, and contextual. At any given moment, when Marissa takes us on the hike, She's the leader. She's the most skilled person in the moment to lead us on that. And then when Adam sits down and says, hey, I want to talk about bookkeeping, suddenly he adopts the role of leader in that. Why? Because he's the most skilled. When Brittany says, hey, Grant, I want you to do this, and this to get your next book out, I got to follow that instruction. She's the leader. She's helping me as a trainer. When it comes to teaching, Grant's teaching. Why? Because I'm the leader. I am the person most best positioned in the moment, in the context, to guide the rest of the team to success. And it's temporary. And as soon as I'm done, I go back to being a doer. As soon as Marissa's done with the hike, she goes back to being a doer. That's okay. There's only two roles on a team: doers, which everyone is, and leaders, which are temporary. There's an example of this in Navy SEALs. Navy SEAL teams, often when they actually go on a mission, they have a small handful of people, say, let's 6 people on a team. And depending on the context, when they're about to basically halo jump into enemy territory, there will be someone known as the air god. And this is the person who is in charge. They are the leader. Doesn't matter rank. Rank and titles don't matter in the moment. What matters is this person is the air god, and they have all the skills and all the instructions, and everyone defers to the air god. Get in this order. I want you to follow me like this. I want your team to go on this moment. And when they're in the air jumping, this person is watching their time. They're watching the altitude. They're governing everything. And they'll say, okay, pull chutes, do this, do that. Let's land and wrap up. And as soon as the last parachute is rolled up and put away, the air god title vaporizes. And you now have an incursion title, or an intrusion god, an intrusion god. And so this is the person who's best trained and most equipped for intrusion. Now we know this, but it's a fluid dynamic of leadership. So the fourth, reiterating, the fourth value, or the fourth belief of the Spark team value, or the Spark value of team, is titles are meaningless. Roles are critical. Spend time shaping roles. Job roles, not job titles. Spend time shaping roles, the output this particular role needs. And a person can have multiple roles. A person can have one role. A person can have one role one day and another role the next. The roles are critical, especially in the early days of a business. Now, as your business starts to establish, as your project or nonprofit or your team starts to mature, you'll have more fixed roles. But remember that the roles and thinking about things in terms of roles is way more critical. Last one is this. Last one is this. Number 5, the fifth belief of the Spark Citizens value of team is that there is magic in a team. For all the reasons we've already stated today, there's one extra fruit of a team. And the fruit of a team is the joy of deep, meaningful connection. We could say it's your team being seen. We could say it's your team being valued. We could say it's hope of economic security. We could say it's hope of future benefit. We could say a lot of things, but it creates a sense of joy. Brittany jumps in and says, all the roles need to be worn by someone, and the roles are worn from the top down, 100%. Now, this requires some unpacking in terms of the tactics. And we should even do a show, Britt. Let's see, Mark. Let's just do an afternoon of roles. That would be probably a really good first step for you and I to actually do a show together sometime, middle of the day. You just let me know some time windows and we'll just put it on the calendar of when to talk about roles and the tactics of implementing team roles. Absolutely. All the roles need to be worn by someone. Someone is responsible. There's no hat that's not declared that someone is in charge of. Even if there's just a token task and eventually someone will be full-time in that role, they need to be in that role. And then all the roles are worn from the top down. And I imagine, if I know Brittany at all and some of her history of her management training, her elite management training, in some way, shape, or form, there's a roll-up accountability that eventually the top has access to all of the roles in some token way, if not a numeric way, but the responsibility crawls all the way to the top. Belief number 5, core belief number 5 about the Spark Citizen value of team, and that's this. We already talked about the sense of joy. There is a fruit from all of the above, and from all of the above working in harmony. There is the deepest sense of joy that a human can experience. I know that Brittany and Adam at one time had a fellowship, and they were very close at the time. And though those things eventually all come to an end, the time there was some of the highest amounts of joy that I had seen them experience. They've gone on to do bigger and better things. All of them have, actually. But these moments that we're together and executing together, these moments create the deepest sense of joy. And the other piece of magic is this. This is the second and final component. Outsiders respect the group that moves as a team, because outsiders have an innate human acknowledgement. They want it for themselves. People don't want to not work. People don't want that. I've seen people achieve millions of dollars and be borderline suicidal. People don't want to not work. People think they want to be on the beach. I've been on the beach, and I've also seen other people get their dream of sitting on the beach drinking a Mai Tai. And they're miserable. Not all of them. Marissa could be on the beach, but she's working. I've seen her scuba dive and instruct other people scuba diving. She's doing the work, but she's doing it with other people. Most people view those who move as a team as magic. They respect it because they crave it for themselves. Think of, as I mentioned before, that birch grove. Again, someone needs to correct me. I believe it's a birch grove, the oldest and largest living species on the planet is this birch grove. Imagine cutting that thing off from the root structure underneath and it trying to live. And it look back at the grove and see all the leaves thriving. It sees all them blowing in the breeze, and it knows that it is slowly decaying because it was cut off from the root system. That's what individuals who are not part of a team are feeling. So we have a responsibility. Part of the reason that team is the second core value for Spark Citizens is because, A, it's core to the human experience. But if we're talking about igniting lives of explosive significance, these words, though they're flowery, the word explode, explosive significance, the phase 4, exploding significance in Spark, Ignite, Explode, Radiate. Spark is vision. Ignite is igniting successes. Explode significance is taking what we've learned about vision and success and making it about others. The Spark dream of igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own, linguistically requires that you do it with others and do it well. We will never build our empires, even our individual empires. I know that Adam and Brittany have a different vision of success than I do. I know we do. And we know that we'll move in and out of each other's lives like this. We know that. And we know that when we're together, we're going to have a blast. When we're apart, we'll be believing in one another and supporting one another. We know that. It doesn't always have to be the same, but we do have to be operating as a team or have the ability to, based on the context. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. Again, once I'm kind of done with some of these series, I'm going to be uploading them to the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. So you're always welcome to pick those up as I upload them at the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. They're just PDFs that kind of summarize the writings we've had about the Spark core values and how everything from Spark kind of stems out from these. But you're welcome to check those out at the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. If you ever need any help or support, visit us at stateofthespark.com. Go find a Spark Citizen. Ask them about how they're making their life better, and I guarantee that together you guys will elevate. I hope you have a killer day. Jessica says, oh, there's Jessica. She's signing off here. Boom. Jessica's saying, hey, have a great day, Grant. Thanks for the lesson on team this morning. You're welcome. I'll be uploading that document. Jessica, if you didn't catch the whole thing, you can always rewind. And then I believe this is Lisa Welsh. Here we go. Yep, this is Lisa Welsh. She says, it's an aspen grove. Thank you for correcting me and finding the details. This is 80,000-year-old aspen grove clones itself. Not only is this organism one of the oldest on Earth, it is also the contender for other extreme titles like the largest living organism. Thank you, Lisa Welsh, for correcting my notes there. I feel like Dax Shepard, who's got an assistant who will corrects the details that he just spouts off. Thank you so much, Lisa Welsh. You guys have a great day. Here's to you igniting your own light of explosive significance. Have a good one. Take care.